Hello friends and welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am your host Tom Downey, back with some Cowboys rumors. First up on today's show, what about signing Eric Berry? This one's back in the Cowboys media world. I'll give it 2 stars. Frankly, it kind of ends up looking similar to the signing Dez Bryant idea, although unlike Dez, the Cowboys have shown interest in Eric Berry in the past year. Now, NFL.com's Mike Garofalo says that Berry took a year off to get right mentally and physically. Also kind of sounds like Dez Bryant. And he wants to play in 2020 and that he passed on offers. I actually don't believe that Eric Berry had a lot of offers last year. He was not healthy. That's why he didn't play last season. Hopefully the entire year off will get that heel foot issue back right. The Cowboys brought him in for a visit last offseason. They did not sign him. The Berry camp can spin whatever way they sound like. We know he wasn't healthy. That was clearly what was wrong with Eric Berry, and it's been what's wrong with Eric Berry. 2016 Eric Berry was one of the best players in the NFL, a premier safety. The problem is now, Eric Berry has played in 3 games in as many years. So you are not going to throw big money at Eric Berry. You're not going to throw a bunch of guaranteed salary at a 31-year-old safety who hasn't been on the field lately. But it does fill a need for the Cowboys, or at least could potentially fill a need for the Cowboys. You have Xavier Woods under contract and Donovan Wilson. Those are the only 2 players. I know many of you like Donovan Wilson. I'd like to see more of him. Hasn't really gotten on the field. So the question, of course, now is, should the Cowboys sign Eric Berry? You guys can let me know what you think in the comment section. Why for yes and for no. And I'm right back where I was with the Dez Bryant side of it. I see no harm whatsoever in a 1-year prove-it deal with no guaranteed money. You can't assume Eric Berry is the guy that he was before the injuries started to pile up. So I say yes, but it has to be a cheap, not assuming anything type of contract. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you might get hit with an ad break here. If you do, scroll on down to the pinned comment. You can cast your votes right there. We'll stick in the secondary now for the next part of this rumors roundup. Do the Cowboys have to let Byron Jones leave? I went back and forth on 1-star or fake news on this one. I'll give it 1. I think you can make a argument that the Cowboys would be better off to let Byron Jones leave from a monetary perspective. He's going to be expensive. He doesn't make any real interceptions, just 2 of them career. But I would still argue against it, mostly because unlike what Bleacher Report said when they have quote-unquote talented youngsters like Chidobe Awuzie, I don't trust this cornerback room at all. I don't think Byron Jones is the one free agent you have to let leave. You might end up having him leave. You can make an argument that maybe you'd be better off spending that money elsewhere, and I would feel better about it if the cornerback room was better. But Byron Jones, I know he doesn't make interceptions, but look at what he did this past year. Pro Football Focus tracks the coverage snaps per receptions allowed. Byron Jones is top 5. When he did give up receptions, they weren't very long ones either. Byron Jones, teams didn't throw his way. And you can compare him with Chidobe Awuzie, who, if you lose Byron, Cheeto becomes your number 1 corner, barring another addition. I know the touchdowns are the same. Awuzie broke up more passes, had 1 interception. But look at the yards and the yards allowed per snap. That's massively different. I mean, you're doubling pretty much that play from Byron versus Awuzie. There's a massive difference there. And I love Jordan Lewis in the nickel role. I'm hoping that a new scheme change will help Awuzie. Wouldn't it also help Byron Jones, though, in theory? I'm a big fan of Byron Jones. They moved him to corner at long last. You guys know this about me. I get the argument against paying him so much money. I understand it. I just think it's a very risky proposition and puts your cornerback room very much down. Now, Valentine's Day is coming up, and you guys really shouldn't be waiting until the last second to get your gift. So I'm going to save you guys 15% off flowers and gifts on Pro Flowers. Head over to chatsports.com/flowers. That's chatsports.com/flowers. Get your flower gifts or your cookie packages, whatever you want there. It's all 15% off with that link at chatsports.com/flowers. Do it right now. Get it out of the way. Check off that box. That way you don't forget about it or you don't have to wait and pay the rush shipping at the end. Check the description. Check the comments. I've got that link in there for you guys. This This one you guys might like a little bit more. How about a Trysten Hill trade? I will give this one just 1 star. I know many of you like this, but the Dallas Morning News threw out a fascinating idea around a possible Trysten Hill trade. Now, he clearly struggled in year 1 with the Dallas Cowboys. Their idea was a 1-for-1 trade of Trysten Hill going to the Oakland Raiders in exchange for P.J. Hall, the also young defensive tackle on the Oakland Raiders. The idea behind it is that P.J. Hall definitely fits the Mike Nolan scheme a little bit better than a Rod Marinelli scheme, who is, of course, the Raiders' new defensive line coach. It was a simple 1-for-1 trade there. I like the idea. I think that Hall would fit better maybe than Trysten Hill. But also, isn't P.J. Hall the better player? You compare these two players here. Obviously, the snaps are very different and very much more in favor of P.J. Hall, but the production was also very much in favor of P.J. Hall. And I think for the Raiders side of it, yes, Rod Marinelli clearly liked Trysten Hill. Rod Marinelli's not your defensive coordinator. He's the new D-line coach out in Oakland. I don't think he'll have anywhere near the amount of power within that organization. And the Raiders have Mo Hurst, who I like a lot, one of the Cowboys drafted in, I think because of the heart condition. Hankins is there, P.J. Hall is there. I like the idea. I do it pretty quickly. I don't think the Oakland Raiders are going to be anywhere near as willing to make that end of the deal unless they give Rod really a lot of power, which not sure that they will. Heck, maybe Rod doesn't like Trysten Hill as much anymore as he once did. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, that there were to be a Trysten Hill trade. What would you want in exchange for Hill? Let me know in the comments section. I'll take it one step further, too. I will give you guys a heart from the main channel if you come up with creative returns on investment for Trysten Hill. For example, no one else can take it, but a bag of chips. I feel like that one might end up being a popular response. We'll stick on the defensive line here. Maliek Collins, is he going to leave? I think this is going to be the case for the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to give this one 3 stars. I don't foresee Collins coming back to the Cowboys. The biggest reason is this. With so many free agents and only so much cap space, you can't re-sign anybody. Now, you can re-sign any one individual player within the cap space, within the salary cap constraints. That's doable in the NFL. That's how it works. But the middle class, in reality, that's what ends up getting squeezed if you're the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys drafted Trysten Hill last year as a potential and likely replacement for Maliek Collins, knowing he was probably going to leave in free agency. Now, Collins didn't end up having the same breakout year I kind of thought he was going to have. I thought he could have a big-time season. He generates some pressure. We had that rookie year, 5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. We're like, wow, this kid could actually end up being a really valuable member of your interior defensive line. Never took that next step forward. I don't love him as a run stopper. I think that's one of his weaknesses. Not a great fit as far as I'm concerned for that Mike Nolan scheme. But you do then have to find defensive tackle help and depth. That's a big area you have to pay attention to. Because Antoine Woods is an RFA. Crawford might be cut or maybe he's restructured. There's not much depth there. Beyond those guys, all of a sudden you're stuck with Trysten Hill and Daniel Wise. Not the greatest outcome, or at least options out there on the defensive line. Now, we will do defensive free agency targets later on this week. Defensive tackle targets, excuse me. So if you want that and more draft and free agency coverage, subscribe today on the Cowboys Report. Hit that big red button, subscribe. No one's going to keep more up to this offseason than we will here at the Cowboys Report. All right, moving on now to Anthony Harris, a popular name out there right now. I'll give it 2 stars. I like this idea. I think it's a smart move if the Cowboys can pull it off, but I think it's a pretty big if. Harris coming off a big-time breakout season for the Minnesota Vikings, his first year as a full-time starter. And I'll make note as well, connecting dots here, Anthony Harris played under George Edwards, the former Vikings defensive coordinator, who is now on staff as a member of the Dallas Cowboys coaching staff. Player-wise, I'm in. He was a good tackler last year, had 6 interceptions. I like those 2 things put together. 11 pass breakups, 6 tackles. That's great production, right? Well, that's also why it might not happen, because the other NFL teams are aware of this too. It's not like they're blind to what's going on. So I'd love to bring in Anthony Harris. I just fear that the cost in the end might be a little bit more than the Cowboys historically have been willing to pay for safeties, even if they are very good ones. So who do you guys want to add at safety? Pick any player, free agency, trade target, or the draft. I think the popular ones will be some combination of a Jamal Adams, a Grant Delpit, or a Xavier McKinney. But let me know what you guys think in the comments section. While you're doing that, today's show is brought to you by BetDSI. Head over to chatsports.com/bet. The promo code is Cowboys120. If you are like me, you like the prop bets that exist around the Super Bowl. There are a lot of wacky, crazy ones out there. This one, though, I like because I think it's pretty obvious. The first player mentioned on the TV broadcast, who's it going to be? Steve Young, Jerry Rice, or hello, Joe Montana. He played for both teams. -141, that's free money. I already put some money down on Joe Montana being the first player mentioned there on BetDSI. I used my deposit bonus because I used Cowboys120 at chatsports.com/bet, and you guys should go do the exact same thing. Move on to our final little rumor item here. The group effort on offense. Is that the plan for the play calling and the scheme and the overall game plan? It's 4 stars. That will not change. And maybe it comes as news to some, but this is common across the NFL. You don't really have coaches out there who single-handedly devise the entire game plan. Not your Andy Reid's, not your Sean McVay's, not your Kyle Shanahan. There's input from everybody. It's a lot for one man to expect him to be able to do, and it works out for the best there. So it will once again be a collaborative effort across the Cowboys coaching staff. Kellen Moore will be the play caller. He'll have input from coaches like Mike McCarthy, the head coach, who will, I'm sure, bring some West Coast tendencies. Joe Philbin will probably be heavily involved in the offensive run game factor of it. He's the O-line coach and assistant head coach. And then Doug Nussmeier, he'll have some input as well as a former college play caller as well. My hope in the end is that, and I think this will be the case, is that a Kellen Moore-led offense with influence from Mike McCarthy will be better than a Kellen Moore-led offense with influence from Jason Garrett. And we already saw last year that the offense was better than Linehan's. So you get rid of Linehan, you go to Moore, it's an upgrade. Now you go from Garrett to McCarthy. I also think that's going to be an upgrade for the Cowboys in 2020. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.